Well, howdy. I'm getting my Texas back on because I'm sitting here in a motel in Denver, getting ready to fly to Dallas tomorrow morning to celebrate my daughter's graduation from college. Yes, that's both kids up and out now. So, hey, but Abigail has just done an amazing job, 4 wonderful, successful years, and I know she's going to have a very brilliant life and career ahead of her. So Abigail, your dad loves you and you've done an amazing job. I'm so proud of you. On a completely different topic, I was sitting here this afternoon, literally just cleaning some stuff off the desktop of my computer, and I ran across an audio file that was on there that was from Fred Dodson's book called Increase Your Energy, that I had recorded. It's actually the last audiobook that we've completed. And I thought, man, that's a great little clip. I had pulled it to give to somebody who I thought could use it. So it is talking about anger issues. Do you know somebody who has anger problems? Or do you maybe occasionally kind of get in the grip of anger and can't get out? Well, Fred has some wonderful thoughts on what you can do to dissolve chronic anger. This is from Increase Your Energy.
Dissolving anger and choleric behavior. This section will help you dissolve chronic anger. It will not help you dissolve anger in general, because emotions in general are not meant to be dissolved. That would be like wanting to dissolve your life navigation system. In normal doses, anger is a healthy indicator of being fed up with an old situation or with oppression. Wisely used, anger lifts us out of lower emotions of shame, fear, guilt, and grief. Chronic anger issues, getting angry on a daily or weekly basis, bouts of rage, a general choleric attitude, all call for healing. If you have anger issues that are impeding your joy in life, this section is for you. Behind the chronic anger, you will usually find unfulfilled desires. Anger is sending your energies in the opposite direction of those desires. Anger is a very strong inner intention that my desires are not coming true. Every bout of resentment sends waves of vibration into the universe, cutting you off from the stream of good fortune. Instead, try this 12-step process. Number 1, write down a few things you're angry about. Number 2, write down things that you did that were motivated by anger. Third, write down some of the petty demands and expectations you have, such as he, she, or they should ... For example, she mustn't come in my office while I'm working. Number 4, write down who you resent and why you resent them. Number 5, write down who you think is stupid, evil, or both. For example, people who believe differently than you. Number 6, write down what puts you into a state of overwhelm. As an angry person, you have a very low tolerance level, in which even the slightest events and statements are too much for you. For example, a traffic jam. Number 7, write down what labels, judgments, words, and language you use to exaggerate the importance or badness of certain things in life. For example, arriving late is unacceptable. Number 8, write down examples of how you have distorted news, statements, or actions to mean something worse than they are. 9, write down some of your strongest unfulfilled desires. Number 10, write down some of your past disappointments and hurts in life. 11, write down some examples where you have failed to convince people, failed to assert yourself, failed to successfully communicate something, and where you are wanting or lacking control and power. And number 12, write down whether you think any physical or environmental factors contribute to your anger issues, such as blood sugar, hormones, lack of sleep, substance abuse, caffeine, stressful working environment, humidity, lack of sun, health issues, toxins in your environment, too many carbs, and so on. If one of these or more applies to you, experiment with reducing or removing that factor and see what happens. Having written down your anger this extensively, you are now intimately aware of your narcissism and the inner limitations behind it. Here are some subpoints. A. Realize that chronic anger is ridiculously narcissistic. Take a few moments to view yourself as a narcissistic, self-important idiot who thinks the world revolves around him or her. Go ahead, it's therapeutic to find humility. Perhaps you want to write this point of practice down somewhere and also spend some time examining chronic anger in others. B. Realize that you do not really have the right to impose your emotional vibration onto others. Conventional wisdom says that you have no right to impose certain physical contact onto others, but the metaphysically mature know that your energy vibration also has very real effects on the physical world. You can curse someone into illness or praise them into health. You are responsible for the emotions you radiate. So, just like you do not have the right to put a pile of garbage over another person, you don't have the right to unload your anger over them either. One of the causes of chronic choleric behavior is the belief that it causes no damage, that it's good to vent, that the person is only being honest. Realizing that it is your responsibility to manage your emotions and reduce your bouts of rage changes your position from mere victim of your reactive self to an adult. Write this thought down somewhere for repeated viewing. I have no right to dump my garbage on others. I am able to gently and gradually guide my emotions in better directions. Point C. Anger is wanting to dominate and control, wanting to be able to assert yourself and make your views count, but feeling powerless to do so. You therefore think that more force in voice, tone, and behavior is needed to get what you want. Instead, practice focusing on what you do want instead of what you don't want. Actually, feeling your power and getting some results will lessen your anger. On the scale of energy, anger is below frustration, and frustration is below boredom. When you are unwilling to concentrate, you slip into boredom, then to frustration, and finally to anger. Develop the ability to focus on what you prefer. D. If you are a chronically angry person, you can also learn different ways to assert yourself, assert your opinion and viewpoint to others. You can learn to communicate. Has communicating in anger ever worked long term? I guess it has not. If you want to enforce your will, speak more softly. There are ways to influence people, but anger is not one of them. Find out how to get what you want by allowing people to get what they want. To be understood, first understand. To get people's interest, first give interest. Write this point of practice down somewhere for repeated viewing. E. I recommend you establish various pattern interrupts. This is a new habit you establish to break an old habit. Something you repeat and learn to do every time you feel anger welling up. For example, every time I feel anger welling up, I will proceed to the restroom and splash cold water over my face. Every time I feel anger welling up, I will repeatedly count to 10 over and over. Every time I feel anger welling up, I will leave the room, go to a quiet place, and breathe deeply until the anger subsides. Pattern interrupts need to be repeated over and over again until they have replaced the old behavior. Then you dominate your emotional self rather than it dominating you. Write down your pattern interrupts for repeated viewing. Point F. There is a way the world is, then there is a way you think the world should be, or should not be. The stronger the should gets, the more anger arises. Changing the world for the better is certainly worthwhile. However, exaggerated non-acceptance leads to anger. Anger can be the catalyst for positive change, but if that positive change does not occur, anger becomes chronic. In a negative state, you are usually looking at what is coming from others instead of what is coming from yourself, in terms of energy, words, and actions. You demand others change without seeing the need for change within yourself. Try to use I statements during arguments instead of you statements. If you focus on what you cannot control, others and events in the world, you begin to feel like a victim. If you focus on what you can control, you feel your strength return. Anger is normally an out-of-control state. Compared to fear, anger is empowerment. But compared to almost anything else, it is disempowerment. G. If you can get yourself or someone else to make a video recording of your tantrums, you have a chance of dissolving anger into hilarity. Anger always behaves similarly, no matter through which person it is speaking. It almost always involves blame in some form. When you're unhappy with your life, you look for someone to blame, to make wrong. It always involves wanting someone else to change instead of changing yourself, wanting someone else to have another opinion. Consider the following affirmations with the variable of X representing the thing that you are angry at. I may not be happy with X, but I accept that it has happened. Although X has happened, I'd prefer something else. I can see X from the other person's viewpoint. I can see how others think they are right and correct. I'd like to be empowered to achieve my goals. I'd prefer to be treated well. These affirmations can dissolve anger within a minute. H. If you're looking to heal chronic anger issues, the most important thing for you to know is that anger is still your decision. You always have the choice whether you are going to behave like an infant and make a fool of yourself, or interrupt your pattern and regain composure. Anger is only legitimate if you use it to elevate yourself from lower states or as a response to a real external threat. Other than that, all anger does is keep you enslaved in a negative, unproductive, uncreative rigmarole, a phantasmagoria of delusional thinking. I. If you're a narcissist, you think that disagreement is a reason to have anger instead of humor. People are different, and it's not your job to get everyone in line with your views. Any disagreement is an opportunity for you to learn. As you let go of narcissistic grandiosity, you start listening to what others have to say, rather than insisting that they listen to you. J. Quick fixes for anger tantrums. Breathe softly, slowly, and deeply. Conscious breathing is always a good idea, even for those without anger issues. Retreat for a timeout and return in a better state. Bite your tongue or your lips. By learning the immediate painful effect of anger, it subsides. Squeeze something. Channel the anger energy somewhere else instead of toward another person. Lower your voice. Slow down your tone. Release muscle tension. It's impossible to be angry when your muscles are loose. Most importantly, if you're an anger person, go back and listen to this section several times.
Great reminders all. And if you connect that over with levels of energy, you know that anger is level 160, which is below 200, which is in the really low levels of energy. So if we are trying to achieve a higher level of energy in our lives and we dip down into anger, boy, that needs to be a bounce moment. I mean, if we get down there, then get right back up, get back up to the higher levels of energy, because that's where we want to live. I hope you enjoyed this clip. All of the books written by Fred Dodson that have been narrated by me into audiobooks are available on audible.com and itunes.com. And of course, here's the comprehensive list. Thank you for watching, and thank you especially for listening.